Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show. Welcome out to the podcast, coming to you every Monday at 6 a.m. UK. Well, it's not British time anymore, so it's GMT, I guess, now, because we went back 1 hour today. But, yeah, still gonna say at 6 a.m. every Monday, so watch out for that episode drop. So, yeah, this is the last episode of the month of October, basically. So, spooky season will be officially over after the 31st, of course, after Halloween. But Halloween weekend has already passed by the time I'm recording this. So, I hope you guys, if you celebrated during a Halloween weekend, you had a great time. I certainly did. Had an incredible birthday party. One of my besties, Pam, she had her birthday party, but also it was a great Halloween party as well. And I dressed up as Travis Halsey, for those of you who wanted to know. And it was a fun time. I bought the official jersey, even though I don't know anything about American football. So, yeah. But I had to fit in the part. I didn't have the mustache, so that's it. But I did have the friendship bracelets. What the fuck is wrong with me? But yeah, I did it. I did that. I had very short shorts, like 3-inch shorts. Yeah, that was they were really really short. So that was crazy. But anyways, today's episode we are talking about the great Impersonator, the newest album by Halsey, and this was an unexpected one for me because I have to be honest, I'm gonna come on record and say it, I'm not really the biggest Halsey fan, in the sense that I've never really checked her music out that much, even though during the Tumblr days I did love Badlands and all that. So was that the name of the album as well? I do remember loving that album when I was a kid. Yeah, Badlands, yeah, I do remember that correctly. But yeah, I still remember, like, I still know, of course, who she is. I've been keeping an eye on her ever since she became famous, like, you know, during the Tumblr days, as I said, and Badlands came out and all that. But yeah, I was not expecting to like this album as much as I did. And this is going to be like my sort of first reaction to that album. So it's not a review. Don't, expect it to be a review by any sort or any stretch of the imagination, because I've only had the album for like a couple of days. It came out this past Friday, and yeah. So I do not pretend to have even the full, comprehension unlocked at the moment. So, and I still need to work on a lot of the tracks on the album, but by listening to it for a couple of times already, I can already see the potential of the album. Like, the message and the feeling conveyed is actually very strong as well. So it really moved me in some shape or form. I cannot stop thinking about it in that sense, which is a big sign on my end that the album is special, or there's something really good about it. And so these are my first thoughts on the album, my first reaction, as I said, and also I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite tracks off of the album. So yeah. But of course, as usual, before we get into it, songs of the week, I'm gonna try and spare some spaces because I'm gonna be including some of the songs from the album in the playlist of the month, which, by the way, is gonna end with this episode, the playlist of October, because it's the last episode of the month. But yeah, so first off, we cannot, of course, end the month without really getting into what happened in terms of I would say Disease by Lady Gaga. She came out also on Friday with the first single, I believe, from her upcoming 7th studio album, and this is sort of like a return to form for Lady Gaga that we've been praying for, because as I said, this shit hits hard. Like, even on Twitter I was saying that like this is like OG Lady Gaga in all sorts, it's so the Fame Monster, I would say, like a lot of that as well. Like, it reminds me a lot of that. It's just so nice to see her going back to her. I was scared, I have to be honest, when she did The World Is Ending, even though that's a great song. I concede that. I just think like she was still leaning into that conservative, not that conservative, to be fair. Like, she can do whatever she wants, of course. Like, she's well beyond like, you know, recognition at this point, so she is famous for what she did and all that. But I just, like, I cannot shake the feeling that it always felt very disingenuous what she did after, well, ever since Joanne, I think it was, sort of like a different veer, I guess, and a different approach to music. Like, I don't know. And then she started doing going into acting, which is fine, whatever. I mean, if that's what she wants to pursue, that's great as well. But then she also did like some songs for quite conservative. Well, I'm talking songs. I'm just referring to mostly. Well, to be fair, when she dabbled with like a bit of country in Joanne, that was already a choice, I would say. And then the soundtrack she made for Top Gun, I believe, Maverick or something. That I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you built your audience, and you are at your core. Well, you used to be a very, you know, left wing, queer loved, I guess, like queer supported artist, and then you veer into that. But whatever. This feels to me like a good return to form. There's a lot of like creepy elements into the song. It's like OG Lady Gaga has never been like, you know, the cool artist that sings about cool or like sexy things in that sense. She can be, of course, if she wants to, but she's more like that bratty, like she's the OG brat in that sense a bit. She has a bit of that. She's sort of like a bit of the blueprint for that, and the hyperpop situation. And this is pretty much it. It's like a bit of that gritty sound that, again, like Fame Monster and all that stuff, really, you know, I guess like solidified her sound at a time. So that's pretty much what it is. Love it. And I loved seeing like on Twitter the parallels with The Cure, the other song that she had, which are basically very similar in message, but they're approached in different ways. Like, while The Cure is like more like a lovey-dovey type of song, like poppy song, this is more like aggressive and like sort of like I'm gonna be your addiction. I'm gonna cure your disease. I'm like your elixir. I'm like it's a very aggressive song in that sense. Like, and the production is just incredible. Like, very synthy, very hyper poppy. I was just waiting for Gaga to come back with something like this, and I'm very excited. And like, the quality is just incredible. The vocal performance here is also so theatrical and so like aggressive. Again, it's like a very aggressive song. I love it. So yeah, if you like brat or like hyperpop space in that sense, you need to listen to this, because this was the original point from where everything else came after, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in the playlist, and you can find it, of course, by just typing on Spotify songs of the Overture Pamphlet songs of the week October 2024. Yeah. Then, speaking of Brat, we have to talk about Whiplash by aespa. Probably my favorite track that they've ever put out. I want to say that. Even to me, it even surpasses Supernova, which is a high bar, but it is so unusual for K-pop to have like this sort of sound. This is not really hyper poppy though. I would say this is more like Vogue, kind of like strutting music as well. It's very techno as well a bit. It's so good. I can't. But I guess it builds off of that broad aesthetic, like, you know, that disgusting, dirty girl like aesthetic, but also like sort of runaway type of girl. Like, it's just so good. And there's a lot of like camera images here as well, like sort of re-evoking Von Dutch as well. So you can see sort of that influence in there, of course. But it's just so good. And the choreo, I've been obsessed with it. I had to learn it. I did learn it, and it was just incredible. Like, I just love the song. I cannot stress this enough. This is probably one of my favorite K-pop releases of the year, and also hands down my favorite aespa song ever made. So I might be exaggerating. Well, not really. I stand by that. That's a great track. The video is also just so cunty. Like, I cannot. I whenever I like first heard the first snippet on their social media platforms, I was like, oh, this, I see the vision. This is gotta be just very, like, you know, niche and very, no, well, to be fair, I've seen, well, they're slaying in Korea, of course, in terms of charts, so they're really doing that. But this is like so, and like they're like number 2 everywhere basically. Well, they're not number 1 because number 1 is APT by Rosie, which is still dominating worldwide. But so they're, Rosie's sort of like Rosé is blocking them to like there is, well, she's gonna stay on there for a while, I believe. So no one is gonna get to number 1 anyway. So, but being number 2 in that chart right at the moment is like saying that, like, if APT was not there, they would be number 1. So yeah, incredible song, incredible visuals, everything is just crazy. But I think it's like very niche in terms of vibe, like just the same way Brad is niche in a way. Like, it has great cultural impact, but it's like very much not catering towards like everyone, like even older people or like general audiences in that sense. It's more like, you know, young people, clubbing and all that stuff, you know. So yeah, great stuff, and to finish it off, before I get into the album, I want to put in Headlock by Imogen Heap. Now, girls, don't get me, I've never really listened to much of Imogen Heap. I know she's a legend, and I love it, but I need to like get into the Speak for Yourself album. That's a 2005 album, and when I listened to Headlock for the first time yesterday, I was like, this song could come out today and still be super current. Even the way it's produced is just insane to me. Like, it sounds so ahead of its time for when it came out. Like, it's so good. I cannot stress it enough. And I know that Speak for Yourself has also another great track called Good Night and Go, which famously inspired Ariana Grande to, you know, have her own version of it on Sweetener. But I'm sure there's so much on the album that I will discover. I'll get into it, of course, after, you know, maybe after this episode actually. But yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, just listen to the song. The song is like a 2005 track again, but it's just so good, like so well produced, so well sung. Melodies wise, like, it's just so catchy. I just cannot believe it. Imogen Heap, a legend for a reason. So yeah, but I don't wanna go too overboard with this. So I want to stick to the plan, which is, of course, my first reaction to the great Impersonator. So before we get into the actual thing, like the album overall, I think it's important to just acknowledge first the fact that this album is her first album since her 2021 album, If I Can Have Love, I Want Power, right? And so there was a space of 3 years between these two albums, and it's important to note what happened in her life, because a lot has happened in these 3 years. And so she gave birth to a child, struggled with lupus, the disease, and also discovered a T-cell disorder so she was diagnosed with that as well. And so you can imagine that her life has been pretty much hell for, well, of course, a lot of joys as well with her, of course, pregnancy and everything, but also a lot of pain, a lot of very destabilizing news, and it's just been a very, I mean, you can tell from the album as well. That's what I'm trying to say. That basically, these past 3 years have been very difficult for her, and she sort of like cathartically created this project that is just like, honestly, as she said herself, like probably one like her most like raw, confessional songwriting type of album she's ever made. So, and I second that. I would say like this is probably her most confessional type of like and type of writing that she's ever done. To be fair, she always had this type of singer songwriter type of vibe to her. But I think the problem that I never really, which also leads me to like, you know, why I never really liked, well, it's not that I never really liked her music, but I just never really could attach myself to it that much, is because I think she never really picked a lane herself. She wasn't really sure of where to go and where to like head as a artist. So she dabbled sometimes like in some efforts of, you know, singer songwriter material, but also then she most times also went back to trying to make very digestible and palatable pop, generic pop music. So it was a bit disorienting because I could have never placed her in any sort of category. Not that she needs to, but I think it's just like her. I would say, personally, in my view, her more like palatable and more, you know, generic pop sounding songs were not really the strongest, and they were a bit disingenuous. And as I said time and time again, like, to make pop music is not an easy thing. You have to have a secret sauce, and you have to like know how to be very like full packagey in that sense when it comes to that, like image wise and sound wise, and, you know, like aesthetic and everything. Like it has to be a proper package. It's so difficult to like produce a pop record, right? So I always thought that her attempts at doing that were like not really the strongest ones, because I don't think she really found her lane in pop music in that sense. But this, the confessional songwriting, I think really is her strongest suit. And she is an incredible songwriter in this album, I have to be honest. Like probably some of her best writing ever. Like the lyrics here, I'm so when I tell you I'm so fucking surprised, I am not kidding. Like I'm so surprised. And yeah, apart from that, she also was dropped from her previous label, so it was you know, a combination of so many factors in her life. So I can imagine it must have been like crazy for her to like just put, you know, her feet down and actually pursue this this project as well. So yeah, so first of all, kudos to her for doing all that, because it's a very brave and very strong, you know, commitment, and I really, you know, commend her for doing that. Now, let's get to the actual album itself. Why is it called The Great Impersonator? Basically, her sort of concept for this was to impersonate several legends, musical heroes, I guess, New Jersey musical legends, and so which include Dolly Parton. Sorry, not New Jersey, like she's from New Jersey, but her favorite, you know, singer songwriters in that sense. So she impersonated, leading up to the album, she impersonated several celebrities, several singer songwriters, including Dolly Parton, David Bowie, Stevie Nicks, Bruce Springsteen, Cher, Britney Spears, Evanescence, The Cranberries, well, so many of them basically, and I would say that when she first put out Lucky, the concept of the album wasn't really clear at the beginning, because I didn't really like, I don't think she really explained the first. Well, she kind of did, I guess. She called the album The Great Impersonator, I think, from before she dropped Lucky, I believe, but there wasn't much in terms of actual, you know, before actually hearing the full album. Her first offering was sort of Lucky, and Lucky was an okay track, I would say, and it's more on the generic side, I would say, but I think in the context of the album, it makes so much sense, the track, and it's so much better. but at the time when it first came out, I was like, I don't know if like this is a good idea to like impersonate Britney Spears, and I don't know, like to interpolate actually her actual song "Lucky." But I think, as I said again, in the context of the album, in the context of the album, is actually so smart, and her photos like recreating famous covers from these artists was so smart marketing wise, I would say, because basically it turned itself into like also a meme, because every I think every day, like she for 18 days basically, I think she started teasing the album, and every day she would post, because there's 18 tracks, so each day she would post a photo of her recreating an album cover of one of the songwriters, and then also reveal a track from the album, right? So it was so funny that people then started like actually not, well, no, it wasn't funny from the beginning, but wait, that's me. But it turned into a full meme, which helped, you know, the chatter spun around about the album, and I think it was a great idea for that. Like that is actually so smart. So you've seen on Twitter people like, you know, making edits of her impersonating also people like completely different celebrities. It's just so funny. So yeah, just crazy. Like and I think that like the common catchphrase like Halsey impersonating who like blank became very like popular on Twitter in the past few weeks. So kudos to her. That was actually very smart. So yeah. But I want to also return to the point of like the impersonator itself. I was thinking that she was gonna go for like an actual like proper impersonation, like actually impersonating the singer itself. But when it came out that it was going to be a singer-songwriter, like a confessional album, then I was like, well, how is this going to work out? Like, are you gonna impersonate the artists, or are you going to like just like give us your confessional? I thought I had doubts, I have to be honest, but I am so glad that it worked so well, because basically she's not actually impersonating the artists themselves. It's more like she's sort of taking their sounds, I guess, but molding into her and to her own songwriting. And I think what really pulls the album together is that it's so cohesive, both thematically but also I think in a way production wise, because she's still like the sound that she's really incorporating here is very much like Y2K in that sense, like, well, year 2000 and 1990s in that sense. So there's a lot of like acoustic guitar ballads and a lot of like rock elements and a lot of like yeah, a lot of like rock and, you know, damn, not the dog, but but anyways, yeah, so it really worked so well, I think, because like I would say it's even better than just like impersonating and copying previous super famous, you know, songwriters. It's like she's taking the sound and the inspiration from them and making a song that could sort of sound, I guess, like it belongs to, I don't know, David Bowie or Dolly Parton or whatever, but then she's turning it around and like adapting it to her own vibe. And this again, the songwriting is what really helped put the entire thing in focus. So very glad about that. I loved it. So yeah, let's get into the business of the tracks. So I'm not gonna go into, oh well, before actually, yeah, maybe I wanna sort of maybe get out of the way the criticisms that I have. I think, as I said again, there's quite a lot of you know, well, I don't know, I don't want to say like it's a slow album in that sense, but there are a lot of ballads on here, so automatically for me it's a bit of a more difficult challenge in that sense, because I have to like get accustomed to the slowness of it all, and it's gonna take a while for me to like really clock all of the tracks in that sense, since there are so many ballads. I think what really I would have done without a bit was the amount of tracks. It's 18 tracks, I believe. So that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. But yeah, maybe I would have done with like a bit, like maybe some cuts and like have a bit more of a compact track list. But it's still that's the only minor thing I would say I would change about the album for now. Maybe I'll change my mind soon, but I really liked it. The a lot of the, like, you know, the thematical subjects that she chose for this. So like, I think, as I said, like, the songwriting pulls it all together, because the themes explored in the album are actually quite consistent and reoccurring in a way, and the concept is explored, I would say, like, fall in some categories, like some specific categories. Like, most of them are about pain and, like, the pains of life in general, but also sickness, to be specific, as well. And it's not simply also like physical sickness, but also mental health related issues. And there's also a lot of, like, a lot of depth, I guess, into many of the ballads when it comes to motherhood and fragility of life itself and passage of time, and, like, you know, like, it's a full reflection on life and pain and the condition of the human condition. And sprinkled in there, well, I guess, in, like, in a very consistent way, is the concept of faith as well. There's a lot of there are a lot of references to heaven, hell, Jesus, God, faith, and all that. And it's not done in, like, a very, you know, like, religious way per se, but it's just, like, you know, it's sort of like speaking about, like, the low point that she was at, and she was, like, you know, you know how they usually say, like, whenever you're at your lowest, you turn to, like, you know, things that are greater than you, to, like, ask for guidance and ask for, you know, help. And so that's exactly what's the purpose of faith here. Like, you can tell that she turned to, like, faith and all these things because she was really, really in a very low place, and she was begging God to help her and to have God, you know, ease her pain and her sickness and everything. So it's quite you know, it's quite vulnerable and quite raw. As I said again, it's quite a sad album as well. But I think it's also, in a way, not necessarily, like, it doesn't necessarily only have to be sad and, like, you know, low mood in that sense. I think in some parts of it also becomes on the flip side, it becomes very energetic and almost rageful in some sort, in some ways. Like, she's sort of precisely because it's, like, so desperate. It's like a desperate call for life and strength, that in some instances it becomes, like, very energetic as an album, and very, you know, earnest, I guess, like, for life and for strength, which is really, really, like, beautiful, honestly, to see. And it fits very well with the entire theme, because it is about, you know, the entire, you know, scope of, like, the human condition and the sickness of it all, you know. So yeah, I really loved the concept, and that's why I keep on thinking about it, because, like, it's a very specific mood that the album puts you in. It's, like, a very like, you can literally see her eye to eye in that sense after listening to this, which is, like, so, like, this is the main goal you want to achieve with a confessional songwriting type of album. So yeah, so let's get first into, like, the actual maybe the actual tracks that I enjoyed. I'm not gonna go through all of them because, again, didn't really have the time to explore the album that much, but I did on my first few listens. The ones that I really, really 100% enjoyed were Ego, Panic Attack, The End, I Never Loved You, Lonely's the Muse, and the Great Impersonator, which is also a title track. Yeah, and to add on to that, I think the only song that I listened to in terms of singles before the album came out was just Lucky, and that's it. So I didn't listen to Ego, I didn't listen to Lonely's the Muse. So to me, they were all new tracks, and I really, really enjoyed them. So yeah, I would say, like, top of the top has to be, maybe at the moment, Panic Attack, but also I really like Ego. I don't know, but all the ones that I mentioned are my favorite tracks, to be fair, off of the album. So Yeah. Let's start first with Ego, maybe. We shall do that, I think. It's the second track on the album, by the way. And in terms of the impersonator, the singer songwriter that she's impersonating with this one is the Cranberries. Like, she's impersonating the band, the Cranberries. And the sound of the song is actually, again, very punk, pop, punk rockish in that sense, and it's so good. The sound of the song. So kudos to Halsey. Oh wait, if maybe I've been misusing their pronouns, because I think Halsey identifies as a non-binary. So if I have done so up until now, I apologize. Just I've not paid attention to it, but yeah, they have made such a great contribution to this with this song, to the album with this song, because this is, in essence, if you love like Y2K punk pop, then this is for you. But I think what the concept works so well here is that they are impersonating, sorry, I'm trying my best. They are impersonating the Cranberries, but at the same time, the content is like very the Cranberries do get, I guess they don't really get confessional in that sense, but Halsey here does get into that space, and they get into that, even though this is one of the more generic maybe type of tracks, but it's still very confessional in that sense. So for example, verse 1, just to like highlight some of her incredible songwriting in this album. I'm caught up in everyday trend, tied up by invisible thread, walking down a razor thin edge, and I wake up tired, think I'm better off dead. So immediately this is how the song opens up, so you know that she's at a very low point, very depressed, very depressed. But yeah, so this is like rule number 1 of singer-songwriting, basically, like like confessional songwriting. Like, you pick up from a very specific instance, a very specific feeling that you have, and you narrate your experience, right, in the most honest way possible, but also by being very concise and effective with your lyrics, right? So that's what they've done here. So and then they carry on by saying, been a few months since I crossed over state lines, talk to my mom, fake smile over FaceTime, drink all night till I can't walk in a straight line, feel so low, but I'm high at the same time. So good. So, like, the lyrics are so fucking good. I cannot. So it's sort of like, already you can tell from these lyrics that they are basically talking about them faking basically their happiness, and like not trying to worry their parents and their mom. So there's a lot of that, and drink all night till I can walk in a straight line, feel so low but I'm high at the same time, problems with addiction and all that stuff. So very serious stuff here as well. And then I love the chorus as well. It's mostly about killing your own. They say basically, I think that I should try to kill my ego, because if I don't, my ego might kill me. I'm all grown up, but somehow lately I'm acting like a fucking baby. I'm really not as happy as I seem. They realize basically that the source of their unhappiness is basically their own ego, in that sense, and the only way for them to like move forward and be happy and try to achieve that happiness is to kill their own ego, because if they don't, then the ego will kill them. This desperate need and feeling of trying to appease their ego is never going to be enough, right? So yeah, and I think also in a way I've seen from Genius that Halsey here was sort of referencing their own mental that bipolar disorder. I think they have. Let me double check. Yeah, bipolar disorder when they were a teen. So yeah, they can still continue to struggle with it, and so there is this dichotomy between the ego, the like eats her alive, but also the other side of their own mental, awareness that recognizes the issue, and they know that they're better off by killing this very toxic form of scrutiny, the self-scrutiny. So yeah. I really like the second verse as well. Still a little kid, I can't make friends, want to be invited, but I want to attend. I've been having bad dreams my career could end cause I slip up when I should have played pretend. Turned 18 and I left the city, said I want to be cool, I don't want to be pretty. The voices all came crashing down and said, you're too nice to run this town. Period. Again, if you love a bit of punk rock, that song is for you. Panic Attack is my favorite track, which is the next one I want to talk about. This one is inspired by Stevie Nicks, I believe. Let me find it. Panic Attack. Yeah. So good. Again, this is a bit of a different take on self-loathing in a way, because here they say basically that they cannot recognize the feeling, they cannot distinguish between like love or panic attack. Is it love or a panic attack? They say in the chorus. Is a heavy heart too much to hold? I don't know, but it's late, so I'm taking you home. Is it love or a panic attack? Would you mind if I asked you on the phone? I don't know, but it's late, so I'm taking you home. In the verses, she opens up about going to the doctor. Left a note on his machine because I tripped when we went walking and I fell in my spleen. Now I think I need a blood test or an antihistamine because you make me fucking nervous and I don't know what it all means. I guess here is also in a way sort of trauma from their previous experiences with previous partners. It's basically the same concept of like loving someone that makes you have butterflies and feel anxious, but you cannot really feel comfortable with this person, right? Like you cannot distinguish the feeling, right? So very relatable. Oh, to say yeah. But again, there's a lot of opening up about their own mental health. In the first verse, they say, my body carries sadness that my brain cannot yet see, and I've been holding on to the memories in my stomach and my teeth. I think here is also sort of like, again, speaking on trauma, past trauma. And then they go on by saying, like, and both my shoulders have been burdened by the weight of my mistakes, and every time you lean in closer, both my knees can help us shake. So, yeah, experiencing, a lot of trauma, PTSD. Ooh, but yes, the sound of this song is just incredible. It's like a typical Stevie Nicks sort of type of beat. I don't want to call it beat, but production. It's just so good. Please listen to this one. I think this one, I'm gonna put this one in Ego, I think, in my place of the month, because these two are probably my top two. Again, here you can see that I really like the more upbeat numbers, but there are a couple of ballads that I really enjoyed. I'm gonna get to them in a second. Let me add them up. So, Panic Attack, period, and also Ego. There we go. Yeah. So incredible song. Before I get to the next track, I just want to point out 1 second. Just like reminded myself of that on the album there are 3 interludes, I would say, called Letter to God 1974, Letter to God 1983, and Letter to God 1998. And these are all, again, I said, like, her turning to God to ask God to basically help them to solve, like, ease their pain or whatever specifically. And it's an evolution of things, because the first one, they're asking, I don't want to go to grandma's, so I'm quiet on the drive. I don't want to go to grandma's, so I'm quiet on the drive. And they go into, please God, I want to be sick. Please God, I want to be sick. I don't want to, I want to be loved. Please God, I want to be loved. I want to be sick. So basically, here's like, sort of explaining her original, like, like when she was young. She's like, well, they're turning back to when they were younger, basically. So it's like sort of their reminiscence on past memories of that. So of like that concept, I guess, of like pain and everything else, and like a drive to their grandma's house. I don't want to go to grandma's, so I'm quiet on the drive. I saw a deer that must have gone and hit. It made me start to cry. Did he have a mom and a dad, and do they argue just like mine? So there's a lot of it, like, no, they're explaining a lot about their childhood traumas again here. So yeah, and so then they turn to God because, well, they have suicidal thoughts here, basically. Because God, I want to be sick, I don't want to hurt, so I'll get it over with quick. So basically, they want God to, like, end her pain of, like, a hurt of, like, feeling these emotions. So they'd rather be sick and they'd rather be done with life because they've had enough of experiencing these emotions. Then this turns into, in the next interlude, it turns to a different concept of faith and like sickness as well. In Letter to God, 1983, it's like, here is more like, I would say maybe in her teenage years, maybe. I left home and moved to Brooklyn, where my boyfriend had a place, and he had track marks on his arms, but had the most angelic face. So it's about, toxic love and all that stuff. And I watched my friends die before 21, and now I'm 28. I'm at a doctor every day because I cannot stop losing weight, and now I'm one with needles in my arms and in my legs. I'm making jokes about the blood test, and I'm planning my estate. So there's a lot of that, very bad stuff. And the chorus goes into, please God, I don't want to be sick, and I don't want to hurt, so get it over with quick. So it's flipping it around. Instead of I want to be sick, it's I don't want to be sick and I don't want to hurt. Please God, I want to be loved. I don't want to be somebody that you're trying to get rid of, in a sense. So there's that. Once they've actually experienced more, I would say, serious pain and serious, physical sickness in that sense, Halsey becomes scared, I guess, of the sickness, and they're pleading God not to, make them sick in that sense, and to finish this cycle of pain. And in the last one, Letter to God, 1998, they go into a newer one, which is now after she gave birth to her child, which is so sweet to see. They start also questioning faith in that sense, and in the refrain they go into please God or whoever you are. So it's a bit of like, that is actually quite interesting as well. And the verses, these days I get less calls because no one wants to hear my voice. I miss the days when I was getting texts that I could just avoid, and I would try to be calm and not preemptively destroy. Every time I'm in the real world, I'm not paranoid and stay home all by my lonesome with my little baby boy. And I watch him on the kitchen floor, he's playing with his toys, and I don't ever want to leave him, but I don't think it's my choice. So there's sort of that more adult commentary on that. And the chorus goes into, please God, oh, you've got to be sick. Why do you make it hurt? And why is it over so quick? Please God, I'm finally loved. I finally found somebody I don't want to get rid of. So it changes another step further in that sense, and they discover the love, an unconditional love that they have for their own child, and they blame God for making them hurt so much when they have to be separated and all this stuff. So yeah, crazy stuff. And they feel anxious about, of course, Halsey feels anxious about their baby boy, possibly being sick. So yeah, they want the best for them in that sense, which is really nice. Okay, now let's get to the other tracks before we run out of time. Next one is The End. Here, I think from Instagram, I think Halsey here is impersonating Johnny Mitchell. And also, side note, they've said in some of her posts that is also their favorite lyricist of all time. Very fitting, because this is a very, nice homage to Johnny Mitchell. This is one of my favorite ballads on the album. First, like, listen immediately. So, verse 1, for example: every couple of years now, a doctor says I'm sick, pulls out a brand new bag of tricks, and then they lay it on me. And at first it was my brain, then a sculptor in pain. I don't like to complain, but I'm saying sorry. So again, here's again the theme of, you know, sickness, and in this sense also physical sickness. And there's a lot about like medicine, doctors, and curing and fighting, you know, curing your disease and everything. But the I guess the bigger question in the song is meeting a person that you think is right for yourself, and questioning whether they can stick around in the long run, even if the worst comes to you, basically, right? So if you're feeling like you're gonna experience something really bad, you start to wonder that, like, if that person is gonna stay by your side or not. And so Halsey goes into the chorus, which says, if you knew it was the end of the world, could you love me like a child? Could you hold me in the dark? If you knew it was the end of the world, would you like to stay for a while? Would you leave when it gets hard? So, again, knowing the previous context of the trauma that they've had with their previous lovers and everything else, and their parents possibly having a lot of fights when they were a kid, it makes so much sense. And paired with the very hard time they've had with, you know, being an only mother, and, you know, having to raise a child for a while by themselves is just, you know, quite a lot. But yeah, verse 2. So I ran into the clinic and I asked to see the man with his white coat and his stethoscope like a snake around his hand, and I told him I'm not bitter because I finally found a lover who's better for my liver, and now I'll finally recover. That's so sweet. I love it. I finally found a lover who's better for my liver, and now I'll finally recover. When I met him, that's the pre-chorus, I thought I was I was damaged goods from a real bad neighborhood. So we wrestled in the mud, and I told him he could stay right where he stood, but I don't know if he should, because once my God destroys the flesh, then there's the flood. Wow. But this is a beautifully written one. It's a very nice ballad as well. Love the melodies here. And I think it's mostly like acoustic guitar, which is very, very sweet, very well composed. Loved it so much. Next, I Never Loved You. I Never Loved You is impersonating Kate Bush in this one. So, but more like the ballady Kate Bush, I would say, not the, you know, energetic Kate Bush, but yeah. Another incredible track. Let me see if I can get the lyrics up. Ooh, but yeah, Never Loved You. I Never Loved You. That again, as I said, it's another one of the great, I think, well, that like Halsey put on this album. They're cutting her up on the operating table, but it wasn't enough. The front desk pages, it's a call for the ages. They couldn't save her. The surgeon said she had a hole in her heart, but it wasn't her fault. It was there from the start. Period. Trying to love you through an open wound, because everything I put inside there just fell right through, and I held the parts together with some pressure and glue, and you're running in slow-mo to the hospital room. If you only knew how bad it hurt me too. Crazy stuff. Crazy shit. It's again, like, the themes of, like, you know, doctors, health, sickness, and all that stuff. Halsey's character, well, I think they're still talking about themselves in a way, but it's sort of like a character in third person, whatever. But in this song, this character may be attempting to relieve or excuse the significant other in the situation for spending the money simply because Halsey never loved him, basically. So now you can take the money. They say you can get on a plane to a beautiful island, build a house in my name. You can donate all the money to somebody in pain, and you can rest your head down and not feel any shame. I never loved you, never loved you, never loved you in vain. So yeah, like, that is a real good track. It's just really, like, really good, honestly. Like, loved this one so much. let me get to the next one, which is... Ooh. Sorry. The next one is Lonely is the Muse. This is inspired by by Evanescence. Oh, this song is so good. It's like very like almost metal rock, I would say. Almost metal rock. Very Evanescence coded, like very rockish, very cool. And in this, I like the concept of this one because it talks about like, well, here Halsey compares himself to like a martyr and to Jesus, basically. I always knew I was a martyr and that Jesus was one too, but I was built from special pieces that I learned how to unscrew, and I can always reassemble to fit perfectly for you or anybody that decides that I'm of use. Here, basically, Halsey is comparing themselves to sort of a moldable tool that can be discarded in their own opinion after they've been used, right? And they start questioning, where do I go after I'm done with this? Like when I'm just an apparatus, they say in the second verse, I've been amused, I've been inspiring a lot of great art for myself, but after people are done with me, and or maybe their lover they're done with them. Like, what are they gonna do? This is gonna be discarded, but they can always fit and rearrange their parts to fit someone else, right? So, yeah. Reduced to a body, hearing someone else's bad is just very, very. It's a very interesting take on it. I think Genius, for example, said about the martyr line that basically a martyr is someone who like sacrifices themselves for the sake of the principle, I guess. Jesus suffered basically in order to save sinners, and in Halsey's case, they had to sacrifice the recognition that she would get from the work, and in order to receive love. But this love is not like a real one. It's like they've had to tolerate partners who were not we're not loving them in the best interest in that sense. And the media focuses more on like the man that they've that Halsey has dated more than the art itself. So sort of, yeah, the martyr in this case is just like sacrificing recognition and the fame from the art for the sake of love, a love that is not actually fulfilling, which is very sad but slayful. And yeah, it's a very rageful track. So go listen to this one. It's really, really good. And to close off, The Great Impersonator. This is inspired, I believe, by Björk. And this is also the title track, which is very, very fitting because it's like a very it plays a lot on like the theme of the impersonator, and it's a great homage to Björk as well. The way the Halsey sings in this one is just very Björk reminiscent. So really love that. It's very cool stuff. Let me see if I can get up the lyrics. I think this is the last track on the standard edition of the album. There's an extra track, but I've never listened to that. But yeah, so in The Great Impersonator, no one has to know. I could always hide, but sometimes it might get to me. The things on all their minds, like they don't know I'm lonely, they don't know I'm kind. So the thing is, The Great Impersonator in this song specifically is them acting as a as a perfect celebrity, or always happy and always perfect and everything else. Again, here there's another link to the tool imagery, like being a tool or being an object. In the pre-chorus, they say I promise that I'm fine, but then I redesign and put myself together like some little Frankenstein. So there's a underlining thing about Halsey is that they're very good at faking their emotional well-being, and then they break themselves apart to fit any sort of imagery in that sense, which is really interesting here, and it fits very well with the Great Impersonator as well, like the image of that. The chorus is so funny. There's a story die with its narrator, surely it's forgotten sooner or later. Hope they spell my name right in the paper, and here lies a great impersonator. So there's like, Halsey also trying to look back at her legacy and seeing what's left of it, and, you know, hoping that they can recognize her skill as a great impersonator, I would say, maybe. And yeah, and hoping also that the music that she has produced in these years can live beyond her own life, can go well beyond, and can be, you know, a legacy that can be celebrated long term. And girl, I have to tell you, this album will be celebrated, will be remembered, because this is probably your magnum opus, I would say. So good, so happy to see it. But yeah, these are the tracks that I really, really enjoyed. The Great Impersonator is more like, it's not really a ballad, so it's more in between, I guess. Well, it's a typical Bjork sounding track. It's very weird, but I loved it. Kind of cool. So yeah, give it a go. I put 2 songs in there that you could like probably listen to. They're a bit more palatable, but yeah, incredible. I'm so impressed by Halsey, by this album. I didn't expect it to like it as much as I did. So pleasantly surprised. But anyways, hope you guys have a great end of the month. And if you celebrate Halloween on the 31st, hope you have a great Halloween day. And I'll catch you up with the next episode. First episode of the month next time. So for November, we're getting there. Christmas is almost here. Bye.